Good morning, this is Dennis Miracle. Today I'm going to be making a purse I'm calling the Miss Dolly purse. Miss Dolly purse. And I wanted first, as I always do, to show you what you're going to need when you make this purse. And all of these pieces are cut 7 by 11, which makes it easier. You need 2 pieces of complementary fabric, or they could be vinyl, for the front, and I'm going to use these 2 pieces here. You need a piece for your back, and I'm going to use this for the back. You need 2 pieces of batting, and I'm going to use this here, which is some practice fabric. Actually, the batting is in between, and there's cotton on both sides. But it's something that was used on the long arm quilting machine just as practice. So I'm using those 2 pieces. And then I'm using 2 pieces of fabric for the lining, and here they are. You're going to need, let me see, I'm going to stick one of my little attachments on here to put a like a wristlet, and this is just a piece of vinyl cut 3 inches long by 3/4 inches wide, with a key ring in the center, and then folded over and stapled at the top. And then you'll need a zipper, and this is going to be for the 6 by 10 hoop, so your zipper needs to be 12 inches, 14, at least 12 inches long. You want to have an inch or 2 on each side, so there's plenty of space on the sides. So that is what you'll need to do this particular bag, and in fact that's what you would need to do basically any bag that I make. They're all involving the same type of materials and the same size for a 6 by 10. So everything is cut 7 by 11. And I'm going to go ahead and put my hoop in the machine and run step 1, which will give me the placement stitch for the zipper and just a general outline of the bag. And I'll be putting the zipper on next. So let me do that and I'll be right back. Alrighty, I have printed out or sewn out the first step of the purse, and you will see here there are 4 lines starting at the top, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and for your zipper placement. And if you have a number 3 zipper, which is what I would suggest, a nylon zipper, it will should fit perfectly, because number 3 zippers are about 1 inch wide. Some are maybe a little over an inch, some are a little under an inch, but 1 inch is a good number, and they will fit between line 1 and line 4. Now, line 2 and 3, just so you know, is where the zipper will be sewn down in the next step. Well, no, not in the next step. In this step 2. So if you have some other kind of zipper other than a number 3, just keep that in mind when you're placing it, knowing that these lines 2 and 3 are where the actual stitching will take place, so you can locate the zipper correctly if you have, maybe some other type of zipper. Anyhow, I'm going to put the head of the zipper over to the left. This is, I think, a 12-inch zipper. And I'm going to tape it down over here. I'm going to tape it right at the edge here, and then I'm going to tape it down over here. And so I'm going to do that and run step 2, which will sew this down. So let me do that and I'll be right back. All right, I've run step 2, and you can see where the zipper has been sewn down. So you need to turn your hoop over at this point to the back side, because we're going to be putting on the first piece of lining. So get your lining fabric, and actually this piece of lining fabric has, well, It's actually some Christmas fabric, but I'm going to use it anyhow. And it's turned the wrong orientation. It's for a vertical orientation, but it doesn't matter. This is what I'm using, and I'm just going to take and put it face down, and you want to put the edge of the fabric here, the bottom edge of the fabric, you want to match it with this bottom line, line number 4. So take and center it equally between both sides. And let me see if I can do that. Well, where? All right. Okay. Alrighty, I think I have done that. Maybe a little below it. Let me pull it up just a tiny bit. Okay. Now take and, as I say, it's face down. Take and tape it here on the right side. Little piece in the center and a little piece on the left side. All right, now pick your hoop up and let the fabric, the lining fabric, fall over to the front side, which it just did. And there it is. And we're going to take and, let me grab a piece of tape first before I do it. We're going to take and fold it a couple times. Well, not just that one time actually, and stick our piece of tape over it to hold it in place, because we're not going to need this piece of fabric for a good number of steps, so we just need it held out of place. Now take whatever is going to be your main fabric. Here, looking at the design, the fabric that's going to be this part with the diamond shapes, take and put it, which is going to be this, and this is directional fabric. I want it to look just like this. This is the correct orientation, so take it and just fold it like this and match it also. Now that we can see the zipper, match it along the edge of the zipper. So you can see that, you can see the piece of fabric is right there where the edge of the zipper is, and take and do the same bit of taping as I did on the back side, and put this in your machine and run step 3, and I'll be right back. Alrighty, I just ran step 3, and let's check and make sure everything turned out okay. Yes, that looks fine. It did a perfect job here on the front, but make sure you turn it over and check the back. And yes, it did a fine job on the back too. So we're back on the front now. Take your piece of batting, whatever you're using for batting, and place the piece of batting about 1/8 of an inch below this stitch line here on the front. So let me try to do that. Okay, and this is a little, let me give this a little ironing. All right, so take and pull your main fabric down over that piece of batting. All right, smooth it down as I'm doing, and now take your iron and go over it and put a nice crease right up here by the zipper. I like to always see a nice crease there. So, all right, that looks good. Now take and put this in your machine and run step 4. All right, you can see that the front piece has been sewn down on all sides, starting right here under the zipper. right side, bottom, left side, and so that's what you want. And now you need to stick this back in because the first placement stitch for the piece that's going to be here in the center is going to be run. So go ahead and stick this back in your machine and run the placement stitch. All right, you can see this placement line has been run. And what I want you to do now is take whatever you've decided to be your second piece, your accent piece for the front, and put it down. Let's see, I don't have my, I don't know, this is probably 4 inches or so by 4 inches, but you will know you will know when you get it sewn out the size piece you need to have. You need to have up here at the top, you need to have it covering at least a 1/2 inch on all sides. And I'm going to take this piece of fabric here, and I've just folded it over. I cut it 7 by 11, but I've just folded it over because it's very thin, and it would show, this bottom fabric would show through if I didn't have it doubled over. So I'm just going to take it and place it here. Yes, that looks good. That looks good. I'm going to place it there and sew this down, and I'll be right back. All right, you can see this has been sewn down, and what I'm going to do now is take my applique scissors, and I'm going to start over here at the side and cut straight in, and then cut on this side of these stitches all the way around. And when I get over here to the end, I'm just going to go right off to the side like that. I'm going to leave this up here for the time being, this part. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you back in a moment. All right, you can see I trimmed as I said I was going to. Don't worry about this up top. We're going to get rid of that later. But gosh, it reminds me of a tongue hanging down. Okay, so take and put this back in your machine, and there's going to be some beautiful stitching here around the raw edges here, so that won't show. And it also helps, and for once I've done it right, I've cut really close to these stitches, which will should make it look real nice. So let me go ahead and run this next step, step number 7, and I'll be back. All right, you will see that it looks like a necklace, doesn't it? It's really pretty. The pretty stitching has been completed, and now I'm going to stick this back in, and the stitching in the center, the pretty flower, is going to be stitched right here in the center. So let me do that, and I'll show you what that looks like in just a moment. All right, you can see the pretty stitching in the center has been completed. The next step is going to do the quilting, the diamond quilting on this fabric here, so that'll take a few minutes, and let me stick that back in and take care of that, and I'll be back shortly. Alrighty, now you can see that the pretty quilting has been done, and the next step after this will be a line of stitching, a placement line, well, not a placement line, a line of stitching will go right through here. And then after that will be a line of, we'll be cutting this off here. After this line is sewn through here, then we'll cut this top piece off here, and then we'll be running a satin stitch along this whole way. So let me put that in and run that step. Alrighty, you probably can't see, but this line of stitches here, this top line here on this piece of fabric here was run all the way from this side all the way over. Actually, it went back and forth. It did it twice. So now what you need to do is take your applique scissors and cut along this line right here on this side where my finger is, on the top part of this piece of fabric here above this top row of stitches. So let me do that, because the next thing that will be done is the satin stitching. So let me trim this. Okay, you can see where I have trimmed it, and now I'll run the satin stitching. All right, now you can see I've run the satin stitching. It turned out very pretty, and it covered the raw edges of this piece of fabric here. And of course, there weren't any raw edges right on here, but it's still, I guess I could have just put it along through here, but I thought that would have been odd just to have satin stitching right here. Anyhow, I think it looks good, and I hope you will too. The next thing we're going to do is finally let this piece of fabric, the lining fabric, fall back over to the back. And so now let's turn to the back, and let's take off these pieces of tape that are here on the sides. Okay, alrighty, and take and pull this down, pull the fabric down, smooth it out, and then take a piece of tape and tape it right here on this corner. Well, okay. Alright, and take it and tape it right over here too. All right, and stick this back in your machine and run step number 12. All right, let's turn the hoop over and see that great. It sewed this all down, this piece of fabric, and so that's what we wanted it to do, this piece of lining. Now, take, as most of you probably know, I use paper towels as not lining, what am I trying to say, stabilizer for these bags. It seems it's worked for me for a long time, and so that's what I do personally. I'm not telling you you should do it. You can use whatever you're used to using, but take and remove this piece of stabilizer that is behind the zipper, and I just use the back of my thumbnail. Let me use the other one. It's hard to do with one hand, but it's possible. Okay. And you can see it comes up pretty cleanly. So use a knife or scissors or whatever you need to do and remove this piece. And there we are. All right. Now, turn the hoop back over to the front and remove this piece of tape that originally covered the zipper, and open the zipper 3/4 of the way. Can I do it? Yes, I can. Okay, I've got it open 3/4 of the way, and you want to take, now's the time, if you're going to put any kind of little connector on, now's the time to put that connector on, and I'm going to put mine right here on the side. So I'm going to tape it right here. Okay, you can see where the line of stitches will go, and so the line of stitches will go right across here. It won't get anywhere near this staple, and it won't get anywhere near this key ring, but we need to make sure we tape the key ring part down. So tape it right on the key ring and tape right up here by on top of this area here. So let me do that, and I'll be back in a moment. Alrighty, I stepped away for a minute. Now I don't remember where I was at. Let me see. I had taped, I told you to tape the little fastener down by the key ring and also over here, and I did that, and the zipper's open. And now you need to take your, whatever you're going to use for your back piece on the back of your bag, and I'm using, of course, this same fabric here, and I'm going to just turn it over like this, so I keep the orientation the same, and just cover what's already there, basically. You want to make sure that you are at least, well, this is, yeah, I'm way too, I need to pull this down, so let me pull this down, but make sure that you are at least 1/4 of an inch covering or above the zipper with your fabric. So make sure you're okay on the sides and on the and at the bottom also, make sure that you have fabric coming down beyond the stitch line. So also take your piece of batting and place over that. So I'm going to take what I'm using is batting, and I'm going to put the camera down to get this. Oh no, actually I think it's fine right there. Okay, so I'm going to take and put this in my machine and run step number 13, and we're almost done. I'll be right back. Alrighty, you can see that this is the batting, what I'm using for batting. It's all been sewn down, and basically the bag has been closed up on all sides. We had moved the zipper in, which was the most important thing. Now for the last step, we're going to turn it over to turn the hoop over to the back side and take whatever you're using for your lining and take it and basically cover what's already there, making sure on the back here that you are 1/4 of an inch above the zipper, and you can see this top line here where my finger's at, and just make sure you're at least 1/4 of an inch above that, which I am, and then take and tape it down on all 4 corners, stick it in the machine, and run the last step, step number 14, and I'll be right back. Alrighty, the stitching has been completed. Let's turn it over. That's where we last put the piece of lining fabric, and it did exactly what I wanted. Of course, it left a big gap for us to turn the bag through. And so now we're going to take we're done with sewing. We're going to take the bag out of the hoop. So loosen up your hoop, pull the top piece off, check for stray pieces of tape. Also look at your a piece of tape is right there. Of course, I can't get, yes I can, wait a minute. Oh, it came off. That's a place that seems to always get a piece of tape stuck there. So now let's check our bottom piece of the hoop, and let's see if we've got any tape on here. Yes, we do, right up here. Take that off. Any more? No. Okay, so that chore is taken care of. I always do that when I remove something from the hoop, is check for tape. All right, now take your sharp scissors and turn it over to the lining side, which is, of course, is this side. And I'm going to start, okay, here's where the stitching starts, right here. So I'm going to cut in like this right up to that point, or right, not quite up to the point, but maybe 1/8 of an inch away from it. And then I'm going to turn the piece, and then I'm going to take my scissors and go in straight and cut this. Well, I can't get in there with one. Let me see. Okay, there we are. All right, and then throw that away. Now take your, no, that's not where I wanted to go to. What the heck did I do? I need to go a little closer than that. All right, let's see. That should have done it. Well, let me use my scissors and cut that off. It's hard to look through the camera and also see what I'm doing. Okay, so I cut that there, and I'm going to take now, and you don't have to do it that way. I mean, I always cut in like this, but you don't have to come from the side, obviously. If you don't want to, you can just start cutting. Now I'm going to follow this on around about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch from the stitch line, all the way around across the top here, down the sides, and when I get here, I'm going to do like I did on the other side, cut straight in, and then when I come around, it should fall when I'm actually at this point after I've, use my scissors to get around here, this should all fall off. But anyhow, let me start back where I was at, and I'm going to do that, and I'll be right back. All right, after you've done the trimming, this is what you should be looking at. Now we've got one more little bit of trimming. Pull back your 2 pieces of lining. Here's lining piece number 1. Here's lining piece number 2. And I always take and give it a, let me just use my fingers here and press this. Let me see if I can, okay. Press that. Okay, now take your scissors and cut right in like this. Don't cut the lining, but cut right above it, maybe 1/8 of an inch, and take this whole bunch of stabilizer, batting, fabric, all of this needs to just be thrown away. So cut right close as you can get, but not the lining itself. So go ahead and cut all those pieces off, and I'll be right back. Okay, I have removed all of that excess fabric and such, and now I need to turn the bag through the opening here, turn it out. So go ahead, and I've got to put the camera down, obviously, to do that. Go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you right back in a moment. All right, now, once you turn the bag out through that gap, you should be looking at both sides. You should be looking at your lining fabric. So what you need to do is turn to this side here where you can't see the zipper, and if you had this first piece of lining, the shorter piece, if you use your iron like I did a moment ago, it's already basically turned in. So go ahead and turn it completely in, and then take this longer piece of lining and tuck it in, tuck it under this smaller piece, tuck it in. Well, I can't do it with one hand. And this, all right, come on. There we are. Tuck it in, and then take, after you get it tucked in nicely, I always use my iron to make sure it stays nicely. When you're done getting it tucked in well, then you want to start either this side or over here, and basically cut at the edge of this top piece of lining, right about 1/32 of an inch from the edge, or 1/8 of an inch, right along through here. Just sew this closed with your sewing machine, and when you're done with that, come back, and we're about to finish the bag up. All right, now I have, you can see I have just very close to the edge of the fabric, this top fabric here, I have sewn it shut, and you're going to have some strings, some thread hanging. Let's see, where are they at? Okay, let me turn it over. You're going to have a couple pieces of thread here. Go ahead and cut those off. You're going to have a piece of thread over here. Go ahead and cut that off. Some thread up here. So just check it at this point. There's going to be a few pieces of thread here and there, and cut those off. And then when you're satisfied with that, take your, reach into your bag and find and open your, well, reach in and open your zipper as far as you can, okay, and find where you tape down that piece of metal. It's over here, I see. So reach in and grab that piece of tape and throw it away. All right, I'll set the camera down and go ahead and turn your bag out, and I'll meet you back in a moment. All right, I've turned it out, and what I'm going to do now, since there's no vinyl, well, there's vinyl right here, but I'm going to be very careful and take and give this a pressing. Make sure I don't hit that vinyl, or it'll melt up like a plastic straw. So go ahead and give this a, and then turn it over and give it a pressing there just to make it look nice. Okay, all right. And one thing I've been doing lately Okay, take your iron and let me get this out of the way, and take it and push the lining away from the zipper like I'm doing now. Push it away, get it away from the zipper. So perfect, that looks good. So I pushed it away. All right, now take and with your hands, take and get this back part of the zipper and just kind of turn it forward, mold it in the direction it should go, like that, and then take and fold and close your zipper. Zipper should close, and it is, so close it up, and let's look at it. Okay, let me see. Well, all right, I guess that's fine. Okay, what do you think of that? I think it's really pretty. I just love the stitching, the floral stitching. I love the little, instead of just regular satin stitching like is here where my thumb is. I love this. Looks like a necklace, a pretty pearl necklace or something going around through here. Looks like a piece of jewelry. So this is the Dolly bag, and I hope you've enjoyed watching me make this bag, and if you obtain it, I hope you'll make something pretty for yourself or a loved one, a friend, or even an enemy. And I always want to take time to thank those who continue to support me, and with words of encouragement and by purchasing my designs. They mean so much to me. And I hope, as I say, you've enjoyed this, and I'll be back in the next day or two with, I've got many, many more designs. I usually make 1 or 2 a day, sometimes 3, 4, or 5, and I just don't have enough time to film these tutorials, but basically they're all made, almost all made the same way. So if you can make one, you can make any of them. You just got to understand about placing the fabric as far as the applique. But after making a couple, you'll probably understand that. Anyhow, this is done. It's beautiful. I hope you've enjoyed this. Take care of yourselves, and I'll be back in a day or two. Bye-bye.